Hey, this is journal page 82, section 4.4, number 1. 5 minus 3x is greater than 8. So we undo the addition and subtraction first. Now I'm not going to add 3x because it's this 5 I want to get rid of. And I'm not going to add 5 because I'm not subtracting 5. I have a positive 5 here. I need to subtract 5 from each side. When I subtract the 5 from over here, these cancel out, leaving me with negative 3x. I didn't multiply or divide by a negative, so I don't flip this around. I leave it the same. And 8 minus 5 is 3. Now I divide both sides by a negative 3. This will stay x. 3 divided by negative 3 is negative 1. And I have to flip that sign around now because I did just divide both sides by a negative. X is less than negative 1. So when you graph that one, negative 1, 0, negative 2, open circle because it doesn't say or equal to, and it's pointing off to the left. Less than. Number 2, negative 4x minus 7 is less than or equal to 9. Well, we have to get rid of addition and subtraction first. We'll get rid of this subtraction by adding 7 to both sides. 9 plus 7 is 16. Negative 4x. Now I'll divide both sides by this negative 4. And I'm left with x. Flip the sign because I just divided by a negative 4. And 16 divided by 4 is 4, and I've got one of each. So different signs, negative. When I graph that, negative 4 I can put in the middle here, negative 3 off to the right, negative 5 off to the left. Closed circle because it says or equal to, and it's pointing to the greater than or to the right. Number 3. 3 plus 4.5x is greater than or equal to 21. So I'll subtract 3 from both sides to start. 4.5x, this will stay the same, greater than or equal to 21 minus 3 is 18. Now I divide by 4.5 on both sides. And I'm left with x. I don't have to flip this because I see a negative on both sides here, but I was subtracting 3. I wasn't multiplying or dividing by a negative. And I just divided by a decimal, but it's no rule about dividing by a decimal, only if it were a negative. 4.5 goes into 9 twice, so it goes into 18 4 times. And to graph it, I'll put a closed circle because it says or equal to, and it goes off to the right because it says or greater than. Number 4. Negative 2y minus 5 is greater than 5 halves. So I add 5 to both sides. Negative 2y is greater than, well, 5 halves is the same as 2 1/2 plus 5. 2 1/2 plus 5 is 7 1/2. 7 1/2. Now I divide by negative 2, divide by negative 2. Why? I'm flipping the sign because it's a negative. A positive divided by a negative is going to give me a negative, one of each, negative. And 7 1/2, now I'm going to turn it into a improper fraction, 15 halves. So 15 halves divided by negative 2, divided by negative 2, which is negative 2 over 1. Turn that into multiply. 15 halves times 1 over 2, negative, gives me 15 over 4 of the negative variety. So I already have my negative here, so 15 over 4. And when I graph that, I'll put negative 15 fourths here. If I am going closer to 0, That'd be negative 14 fourths here and negative 16 fourths here. Open circle, because it doesn't say or equal to, and pointed to the left. Number 5. 2 times y minus 4 is less than negative 18. I have to do that distributive property first. So 2 times y is 2y. 2 times negative 4 is negative 8, less than negative 18. Add 8 to both sides. And I'm left with 2y is less than, different sign subtract, keep the sign of the larger absolute value, so negative 10. Divide by 2, and y is less than negative 5. I never had a reason to flip that around, so I didn't. And I have negative 5, negative 4, negative 6, open circle, pointing to the left. Number 6, negative 6 is greater than or equal to negative 6 times y minus 3. Well, I would like the variable on the left-hand side, so we're going to turn this whole thing around. I'll take this whole side as is, negative 6 times y minus 3. I'll put this side over here, negative 6, and I have to reverse this symbol here to keep it true. Well, now I do this distributive property. Negative 6 times y is negative 6y. Negative 6 times negative 3 is positive 18. Now I can subtract 18 from both sides because I undo addition and subtraction first. So I have negative 6y left on this side. Over here, same sign, add and keep, so I have negative 24. And now I don't turn this symbol around. I know I've got a negative on both sides here, but I was subtracting 18. I was not multiplying or dividing by a negative. And finally, I can divide by negative 6 to get my variable all by itself, y. Negative divided by a negative is a positive, and 24 divided by 6 is 4. Now, this time, I do have to turn this symbol around because I just divided both sides by a negative. And when I graph this, 4, 5, 3, it's a closed circle because it says or equal to, and it's pointing off to the right. Number 7. You borrow $200 from a friend to help pay for a new laptop computer. That's nice of your friend. You pay your friend back $12 per week. Write and solve an inequality to find when you will owe your friend less than $60. Well, you started owing your friend $200, and you get to take away $12 every week. So 12 times however many weeks it's been, we'll use W. And we want to know when this will be, the amount you owe will be less than, and it says you will owe your friend less than $60. So even if we got 60, we wouldn't be less than 60. So we are not going to put an or equal to sign there. Less than 60. Well, the first thing we're going to want to get rid of is this 200. So this 200, we'll subtract 200 from both sides, which will leave us a negative 12W over here, and this will be negative 140. I subtracted, so we're not going to turn this around. I was not multiplying or dividing by a negative. Now I will divide by a negative 12. And I'm left with W, and this will be greater than. And now I've got a negative divided by a negative, so it's going to be positive, but I don't know what 140 divided by 12 is. 12 goes into 14 once. 12 goes into 20 once. So now I've got 8/12 left over. 11 and 8/12. that could be simplified to 11 2/3. So 11 2/3 weeks. But if we're paying them every week, we're not going to pay them at 2/3 weeks. It's either going to be 11 or it's going to be 12. So let's think which one would make sense here. 11 is greater than 11 2/3, or 12 is greater than 11 2/3. Well, of course, 11 is less than this, so that's not true. So we'll have to go with 12. 12 weeks. Well, I hope all this helped. If you have any questions, make sure you're asking them in class, and we will see you then.